I've always felt unseen and undervalued by my parents. After my divorce, they took advantage of me financially and treated my son as if he were nothing but a nuisance. I'm a 42-year-old emergency room physician at a major hospital in Boston. I'm a single mom raising my 7-year-old boy, Lucas. What I'm about to share has been building up inside me for decades. It's about the pattern of behavior my parents displayed, how it shaped my life, and how I'm finally starting to see it for what it is. When I was 5 years old, my little sister Abigail was born. My parents told me I was going to be a big sister, that it would be the best thing ever, that I'd have a lifelong friend. What they didn't tell me was that from that day forward, I'd become invisible in my own family. Every morning, Mom made Abigail's breakfast exactly how she liked it. 2 sunny-side-up eggs, toast cut diagonally, just how my princess likes it, she'd say proudly. Then she'd toss me a box of cereal without even looking in my direction. The difference in how we were treated couldn't have been clearer. In elementary school, Mom spent hours helping Abigail with homework, patiently walking her through every problem. When I asked for help, the response was always the same. "You're clever enough to figure it out on your own." They attended every one of Abigail's soccer matches, cheering loudly from the sidelines. But whenever I had a science competition, they suddenly had other plans. When I needed braces, Dad complained endlessly about how expensive they were. Every appointment came with muttered remarks about the cost. 2 years later, when Abigail needed braces too, money magically stopped being a problem. They even got her the clear ones I'd begged for but was denied. "It's an investment in her confidence," Mom boasted to her friends, as if my confidence didn't matter. My academic success barely registered with them. Straight A's in advanced science classes got me a distracted nod, while Abigail's B+ in regular math earned her a fancy dinner downtown. During parent-teacher conferences, they hardly listened when my teachers praised me for excelling in biology and chemistry, but they lit up when Abigail's teachers mentioned her being active in class discussions. Birthdays were another painful reminder of where I stood. My parties were small, a cheap cake from the supermarket and maybe a few friends in the backyard if I was lucky. Abigail's birthdays were extravagant productions, bounce houses, entertainers, customized cakes, and themed decorations. One year, they even hired an event planner. I once overheard Mom telling a friend, "Abigail just appreciates things more. Our older one is too practical." It stung, but I learned to swallow the hurt. The hardest part was watching Abigail change over the years, from a sweet, fun little sister to someone I barely recognized. We used to make blanket forts and create silly adventure stories together, but all the constant praise went to her head. By middle school, she had become the typical spoiled golden child. "Where's my blue sweater?" she'd shout, digging through my closet without permission. "That's mine, Abigail. Mom gave it to me for my birthday," I'd protest. "Well, I need it for Jessica's party," she'd reply. And Mom would always take her side. "Don't be selfish. Let your sister borrow it." My belongings became community property. Hers remained strictly off-limits. I stopped fighting and focused instead on what I could control. My own future. School became my escape. While Abigail got praised for playing a 2-line role in the school play, I quietly kept winning science fairs and plotting my way out. I joined every academic club, volunteered at the local hospital, and spent my summers doing research internships. My guidance counselor became my biggest advocate. She helped me secure scholarships and wrote glowing recommendation letters. The day my acceptance letter from Harvard Medical School arrived with a full scholarship, I was over the moon. Finally, I thought they'd have to acknowledge me. I waited until dinner to share the news, hoping they'd all be together. But that night, Abigail was monopolizing the conversation, performing her entire student council election speech. "I got a full scholarship to Harvard Medical School," I said when she finally paused for breath. "That's nice, dear," Mom replied absently. "Abigail, tell us more about your posters." Harvard became my sanctuary. During those years, I only went home for major holidays, and even then, I couldn't wait to leave again. Every visit played out the same way, my achievements brushed aside while Abigail's latest accomplishments dominated the room. I threw myself into my work and excelled during my emergency medicine rotations. My professors took notice, and I built a reputation for handling high-pressure trauma cases. In my 3rd year, I met Marcus, a medical device representative who worked with our department. He was charming, attentive, and genuinely supportive of my career. Unlike anyone I'd dated before, he made me feel valued. After graduation, we married in a simple ceremony. Life felt complete for a while. I started my job at Mass General, and when Lucas was born, Marcus seemed like the perfect father. We bought a home in a good neighborhood and set up a cozy nursery. For the first time, I thought I had the family I'd always dreamed of. But when Lucas turned 1, things shifted. Marcus became distant, worked late, and started canceling plans. I blamed stress, exhaustion, anything but the truth. I suggested therapy, vacations, anything to reconnect, but he kept avoiding it. Then one night while I was feeding Lucas, Marcus came home pale and shaky. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly. "I met someone else. Her name is Catherine. I'm in love with her." It felt like the floor fell out from under me. Years of emotional numbness kept me calm on the outside, but I was breaking inside. The divorce went smoothly, surprisingly. Marcus moved to Colorado with Catherine, but stayed a responsible co-parent. "I might have failed as a husband," he said once, "but I'll never fail as a father." And he kept his word. Marcus's parents, Tom and Betty, became an incredible support system for Lucas and me. His sister, Avery, treated Lucas like her own nephew. They made sure he always felt loved, something my own family never did. At Tom and Betty's house, Lucas would run straight to the play corner they'd built just for him. Tom would sit on the floor playing trucks with him while Avery organized crafts and games. But at my parents' house, it was always cold and uncomfortable. "Don't let him touch that vase," Mom would snap without looking up. "And make sure he doesn't run, he'll ruin the floors." Lucas would cling to my leg, sensing how unwanted he was. Whenever Abigail showed up, the difference in their behavior was instant. "Here's our successful girl," Dad would beam. They'd hang on to every word she said about work while ignoring Lucas's attempts to show them his latest drawing. Recently, a series of events made me see my parents in a way I never had before. I'll share those soon, I just need to process everything first. For now, I'm focusing on my son and the people who have shown us what real love looks like. Update 1. After the divorce, I threw myself into my work completely. I started taking on the toughest trauma cases, the ones other doctors turned away. Last year, I had a particularly complex case. A multi-trauma patient who'd been transferred from 3 different hospitals. I spent 16 straight hours stabilizing him with my team, and against all odds, he survived. My department head called me in a few days later. "I've been following your performance," Dr. Mitchell said. "How would you feel about leading our new trauma response unit?" It meant longer hours, more responsibility, but also a huge raise. I accepted immediately. Under my leadership, our response times dropped by 30%, and we achieved the highest survival rate the hospital had ever seen. My papers on trauma care protocols were published in top medical journals. Soon after, I was promoted to senior attending physician, complete with my own office and a salary that made me tear up. With that stability, I bought a beautiful 3-bedroom apartment in a great school district. Lucas was thrilled to have his own room. "Mom, can we paint it blue like the ocean?" he asked, eyes wide. "Of course, sweetheart," I said. That weekend, Tom and Avery came over to help paint. Betty baked cookies, and by the end, we had more paint on us than on the walls. It felt like a real family moment, something I'd never had growing up. Then my parents started calling more often. It began innocently, asking about Lucas, wanting to visit. For a moment, I thought they'd finally changed. During their first visit, Mom even sat on the floor to play with Lucas's trains, and Dad brought him a new toy truck. But soon the requests started. "The fridge is making noises. The bathroom needs repairs. We can't afford it right now." Each time I helped, remembering all the money they'd spent on Abigail's hobbies while denying me the same support. Then came the biggest one, a new car. "Your mother and I have been thinking of getting something reliable," Dad said one Sunday. "We'll pay you back, of course. We just need something dependable to drive Abigail to interviews." I agreed out of habit, though it gnawed at me. Avery noticed something was wrong. "You look tense," she said one day. "Did they ask for money again?" I told her, and she frowned. "You know you don't owe them anything, right?" But part of me wanted Lucas to have grandparents even if it cost me. I tried to ignore how their affection for him seemed to appear only when money was involved. Then last week, everything came crashing down. Update 2. What happened recently has completely changed how I view my parents. During a hospital presentation last week, I suddenly felt an intense stabbing pain in my abdomen. Dr. Henderson, one of our surgeons, took one look at me and said, "Classic appendicitis. We need to operate now." The irony of being an ER doctor turned emergency patient wasn't lost on me. My first thought was Lucas, who would pick him up from his robotics club. Tom and Betty were on a cruise, and Avery was away at a conference. Out of options, I reluctantly called my mother as the nurses prepped my IV. It rang 4 times before she answered. "Mom, I'm in the hospital. They need to remove my appendix immediately. Can you please pick up Lucas from school and keep him for a couple of days?" There was a long pause. "Oh, honey, that's not possible," she finally said. "Your father and I are hosting Abigail's promotion party tonight. She just became a junior executive. We have 50 guests coming." "Mom, please," I begged. "Lucas needs to be picked up in 2 hours. I don't have anyone else." She sighed, annoyed. "Well, that's not really our problem. We're in a rush, and you know how Lucas is, always running around, touching everything. He's exhausting. We can't babysit right now." The nurse beside me gave me a sympathetic look as I felt tears sting my eyes. In that moment, I realized something painful but freeing. I'd been chasing love from people who were never capable of giving it. I'd been covering their car payments for over a year, every time they hinted they were struggling. But she interrupted me mid-sentence with a laugh so cold it made my chest tighten. "Oh, we won't be needing your charity anymore," she said smugly. "Abigail just landed an amazing position. From now on, she'll be helping us, not you." Then the call ended. I just sat there in the hospital bed, phone still pressed to my ear, feeling tears slide down my face and mix with the sweat on my skin. A nurse gently placed her hand on my arm. "Dr. Mitchell, do you have anyone else we can reach?" My hands trembled as I called Avery. She picked up immediately. Before I even finished explaining, she was already moving. "Text me the school info. What time does Lucas need pickup? Don't worry, I'm heading back tonight. He can stay with me and Max. He loves that dog anyway." "But your conference," I started, still dazed. "Forget it," she cut in firmly. "Lucas is my nephew, the rest can wait. Just focus on getting through this, okay?" The next thing I remember was waking up after surgery, groggy and sore. My first thought was Lucas, but a message from Avery was already waiting. "Lucas is having the best time. We made pizza, built a blanket fort, and Max is standing guard. Just rest." Over the next 2 days, she sent photos. Lucas laughing while baking cookies, buried under a pile of stuffed animals, proudly showing off Lego hospitals like mommies. When I was finally discharged, Avery brought me home. She'd stocked my fridge, cleaned the apartment, and even arranged a cozy little recovery space in the living room. Lucas sprinted to hug me, then paused when he saw the bandage. "Aunt Avery let me help make breakfast every morning," he said proudly. "And Max slept in my fort to protect me." The following afternoon, as I rested, I scrolled through social media and froze. Photos from Abigail's promotion party filled my screen. My parents were grinning beside her, champagne flutes raised high, surrounded by decorations and a cake that probably cost hundreds. They had celebrated lavishly that same night I was in surgery, while their grandson was left behind, dismissed as a burden. That night, after Lucas fell asleep, I opened my laptop. I stopped the automatic transfer that covered their car payment and blocked both of them on every platform. Then I looked at the framed photo on my desk, Lucas and I in the park, both laughing as Max chased Bubbles. And something inside me shifted. I'd been trying to earn my parents' affection with money and endless tolerance, mistaking silence for peace. But real love, the kind I'd been searching for my whole life, was already around me. It was Avery dropping everything to fly back. It was Tom and Betty FaceTiming Lucas every night, cheering over his latest drawings. It was Max keeping watch beside my son's blanket fort while I lay in a hospital bed. For now, I just want to heal and be present for my boy. The hospital granted me 2 weeks of leave, and Avery refused to leave until I was strong again. Yesterday, she helped Lucas decorate my room with his science fair paintings. "To make it look like your hospital," he said earnestly, "but better because it has my art." And he was right. My son has never had to question whether he's loved. He doesn't have to earn it, and that's everything I ever wanted to give him. I'll share another update soon about what happened when my parents discovered the car payments had stopped. But for now, I'm going to rest and enjoy this quiet peace with the family who truly loves us. Update 3 first, I need to thank everyone who reached out with kindness and support. Your messages helped me stay grounded for what came next. As many of you guessed, my parents did not take the cancellation well. The voicemails started immediately, one after another, shifting between guilt trips and threats. "How could you do this to your parents? You're heartless. We'll lose the car because of you." I blocked their numbers, but they just kept calling from new ones. Not once did they mention Lucas or apologize for abandoning us when I needed them most. It was all about them, their car, their pride, their image. Then came the guilt campaign. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years began calling. They're getting old, Aunt Susan scolded. It's your duty to help them. I wanted to ask where their duty had been when my child needed care while I was on an operating table. Instead, I quietly blocked them too. Last Sunday, while Avery grilled burgers in the backyard and Lucas played fetch with Max, an unfamiliar car pulled into my driveway. My stomach sank. Mom stepped out, wearing her polished, church social smile. "Paula, sweetheart," she called like nothing had happened. "We've been so worried since you stopped returning our calls." I stayed seated. "What do you want, Mom?" She perched on a chair, smoothing her skirt like she was settling into a performance. "Well," she sighed dramatically, "your father and I have had a little trouble keeping up with the car payments. We assumed Abigail would help us with her promotion, but—" She paused for effect. She flat out refused. "Can you believe that? After everything we've done for her?" I bit back a laugh. The irony was almost poetic. "So," she continued, "we were hoping you could start sending money again just until we figure things out. We could lose the car, and then how would we attend our social events?" That broke me, but not the way it used to. I laughed. A sharp, unrestrained, bitter laugh. "Mom, you know what is funny?" I said quietly. 3 months ago, while I was being rushed into emergency surgery, you called your grandson, your only grandson, a burden. You couldn't even be bothered to pick him up from school because you were too busy celebrating Abigail's promotion. The same Abigail who now won't give you a dime. She flinched. "We were just busy that night, sweetheart. You know how these things go." "No, Mom, I know exactly how it goes." I stood up. "I was useful when I paid your bills. The moment you thought Abigail could replace me, suddenly Lucas and I were inconvenient. That's not love, that's exploitation." "That's not fair," she whispered. "We've always—" "Always what?" I interrupted. "Favored Abigail, treated me like the backup plan, took every bit of help I offered and called it charity. You did hang up on me, remember, while I was lying in a hospital bed." Her lips trembled. "Please, Paula, the handouts are over," I said, my voice steady. "I'm done trying to buy love that never existed. And I'm done letting you treat my child like he's less than. We're finished." If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a comment, hit subscribe, follow for more, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss the next one.